Hey everybody, super excited for this chat today with Pond IoT, one SIM to rule them all. Igor, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks for joining. You guys have a really unique solution, and as a mobile tech geek, I was really intrigued to chat. Before diving in, maybe introduce yourself and who is Pond IoT?
So Igor Kamenetsky, I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for Pond IoT. We handle what I'd like to say is we're problem solvers in the data space. IoT is such a weird terminology, at least in my opinion. It means so many different things and it connects so many different things. So what we do is we connect those things regardless of what they are. We used to connect people, now we connect
Hmm.
machines, and now we're connecting machines and people. So just a lot of connections.
Well, indeed, and we're still in that mission to billions and billions of connected
Right.
things and people, which seems pretty reasonable now. Talk about the history of the company. You've been in mobile for a long time, mobile
Yeah.
operations, but you shifted focus to IoT. Why is that? What's the big idea?
Well, like you said, I've been in telecom in generally for pretty much all of my adult life, right? I started off at 16, um, working for an authorized retailer, where most people forgot what those are, because they have kind of disappeared. But I started in telecom. I worked for all the big names, the Verizons of the world, and I joined actually Pond Mobile, which was the focus there was slightly different. It was more, to connect people internationally. There was a different problem that needed to be solved, and then I transitioned into Pond IoT, which is our IoT division. Um, because we felt like that's the next best thing, and we were very much positioned to help not only new customers but our existing customers. um, you know uh, at that point everybody knew what IoT was, but nobody knew, well, what are you going to do with it, right? Like, how is it going to help me? So we started, I want to say, in 2018. Rebranded to Pond IoT, and been doing that ever since.
Well, certainly it's the right place, the right time. I think a lot of the market and the technology has kind of caught up to where you
Absolutely.
are. So describe your suite of services, your platform, if you will, to enable business connectivity in different use cases.
Yeah, so like I said, it's about connections, right?
Hmm.
So the verticals that we work with and the businesses that we help, they're A to Z. You have failover solutions. You have connected vehicles. You have connected toasters. You have sensors. So we can probably spend the next few days listing out, all of the things we do, and all those things that we connect. But at the end of the day, that's essentially our goal. It's to help customers, regardless of whether it's an enterprise customer or a small business, um, connect, and also provide them with some technology advisements, right? Because sometimes
Hmm.
people come to us and they say, "I think I need this," and then that's where our experience kind of shines, and we say, "Well, we know where you want to go, but there's a different way of getting there." So that's what we've been doing since 2018.
That's fantastic. And you have this connectivity hub. It's designed to reduce cost and, more importantly, complexity because you have hundreds of different carriers around the world. How does that work? Is that sort of a single point of entry
Right,
into the
exactly.
network for those customers? And
You're
maybe
absolutely
give us some
you
color
you
commentary
you, you
around that.
nailed it. So, what essentially that does is it gives you access. The situation that many companies face is that they'll, just to give you an example, they release a product, and that product may
Hmm.
be deployed globally, right? But
Hmm.
there you can't just stick a SIM and let it go, right? Because that product may end up in the US, it may end up in the UK, it may end up in
Hmm.
somewhere in the Asia Pacific market. So what we've essentially done is we've created, and we market it as a connectivity hub, but there's other names for it, and it's essentially one pane of glass that allows you entry into all these different carriers,
Hmm.
to make sure the costs are down. You're not, you can move a product from one place to another and not unintentionally not know that, hey, your cost just tripled. So we have this unique system that allows you and gives you access to all these carriers, not only to save you money, but sometimes the concern isn't about money. It's more about, I need to make sure that this device is connected, and
Mm,
so it may want to. Today it needs to be connected to, let's say, Vodafone, but tomorrow it needs to be connected to Orange, or even within particular markets like the U.S. market. You know, people are more familiar with the Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile. You may need connectivity to all three, whatever the product is.
mm, mhm.
So that hub allows you to do that and really control not only your costs but accessibility into that particular market.
Yeah, it's fascinating. The software SIM, the new eSIM format, was a big wake up call for me just as a consumer,
Right.
as a business user, as a professional consumer almost, and my really eye opening possibilities of having like multiple networks just on my iPhone and tablets, et cetera. That was pretty cool. But for businesses, it's even more of an opportunity, is it not?
It
Maybe
is.
describe how your smart SIM works and can superpower devices, fleets, or asset tracking and that sort of thing.
Well, I think first of, like, most people, it's to me, eSIM is more of a form factor, right? If
Mm,
you kind of think about it, because it doesn't do anything more than a standard SIM, but
right.
when you activate eSIM, it gives you additional possibilities. It also allows you to do things substantially quicker, right? The days of you having to pop in a SIM are done, right? You download
Mhm.
essentially a QR code or whatever the delivery system is, and you're off to the races. Um, I think with eSIM, especially for businesses, what we're seeing a lot, and again, this is just the beginning of the revolution, right? So what we're
Mm,
seeing is we're seeing a lot of companies that are having not only a single provider, they're having dual providers on one device, whether it be a phone or another piece of hardware. The most notable one that I've seen people adopt, especially in the last few years, is to balance that work life balance that they need. You know, the eSIM gives that. They put in a physical SIM and an eSIM, and now they have both. Right. From a hardware standpoint, what it does is it allows, um, for example, this is something new, but some of the router hard manufacturers are allowing for eSIM. Right, this is just like
oh,
have
wow.
like for example, just announced in the last few weeks that some of their 5G devices will support eSIM. Right. And we're one of the companies that's working with our customers and leveraging that, right? So imagine, you know, how you had a physical SIM, and now you have the ability to essentially copy and paste the activation code in an eSIM remotely. Not even You don't even have to be next to the device, and magically, all of a sudden, you have additional network access that you didn't have before. So, from the business standpoint, it definitely allows things to happen a lot quicker. And there's other things that happen. Like, imagine now all of a sudden that technician that had to go out to that site, that you ended up spending $1,000 to send them there. You don't need to send them there anymore. This
Mm,
can be done essentially remotely. So it definitely opens up a lot of cool and interesting new things.
indeed. Yeah. And there are a lot of capabilities there. I see you have built in telecom expense management into your services. How does that work?
So it's really traditional. What we
Hmm.
did find is that there was this gray area, right? You had typically our enterprise customers, they have they have someone in the organizations that's really managing that part of the business, right? Making sure that their expenses are where they need to be, and they're communicating with whoever the counterpart is on the other side, right? And then the small businesses are, they're really small. They have very little business. They're really managing it themselves. But then you have this massive space in the middle where companies aren't doing that. So what we introduced, and we thought that this would lead to customer satisfaction, and it actually did, is the account manager that's assigned to each account. That's the way we do things. We typically assign a specific account manager to manage that whole account. So you have a single point of contact. What they'll do is they'll monthly, most of the time, sometimes quarterly, will kind of look into what your spend is, what you're doing. Are you aware of certain things? For example, you may have deployed something that you thought was going to barely use any data. And it turns out it's not. It's using substantially more. And then that account manager would essentially communicate to whoever that person is within the organization and say, "Hey, if we make the following changes, we'll save you X amount of dollars per month." And so what that does is it reduces costs. It also puts us inside of the business because we're looking out for the company's best interests
Mm.
financially. And it also for us, it's also a benefit because sometimes we uncover additional needs that the organization has that they're not even aware of how to satisfy those needs. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, it sounds it. What a great idea. And tell us about your go-to-market. I mean, do you work with partners, integrators, end users directly, or how do you manage those
Typically,
relationships?
yeah, so today we work with certain organizations. You know, TBI we was one of our first companies.
Mm.
AppSmart, who's now AppDirect. As a matter of fact, they all merged. We have some other partners that we've worked with in the past and continue to work with. And some of the larger customers, like enterprise users, we usually work with directly. So we pretty much cover everybody. We will be introducing a small business division. Most
Mm.
likely, that's the strategy we have for 24. Um, uh, Today, it's usually those channel partners that are helping those small businesses. You know, they have a technology advisor that via the channel will come to us and say, "Hey, I need X amount of units. You know, I am a small business, but I have very high data needs, and I need your help." In the future, we're going to have a division that'll focus more on that. But you know, we help everybody. We don't discriminate.
That's great. So I imagine 5G has been kind of rocket fuel for your business. So many new use cases and interesting requirements. Tell us about your 5G strategy. I think you have a SIM that supports all the networks in the US, for example.
Right. So, I mean, 5G, we've deployed it. I want to say somebody in my operations is definitely going to hate me for this, but I think we're at about probably 60 countries where we offer 5G services.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have it, and you know, 5G is definitely it's again for most tech lovers, they know that 5G is not. Although everybody thinks of speed right away, it's not really the speed; it's the latency that's
Mm.
huge, right? We had a really strong play on how to make sure that latency stays low. I think some of the other companies out there they have an issue with latency that before they never really needed to address because it wasn't such a concern. Now what we're seeing in the space is that it's become a concern. It's become a big concern because now the expectation is to have the latency numbers, you know, in double digits. You know, no one wants to accept triple digits anymore. Um, so with 5G, that's actually helped, right? The latency has come down. Obviously, the download speeds are definitely there. We're seeing substantial download speeds. I think it was about 6 months ago. You know, we were to be fair, we were not too far away from the tower. I was able to see
Mm.
it, but we were close to like a terabyte, you know, of data.
Wow.
I'm sorry, a gigabit connection, but the person did almost a terabyte of data in
Right.
one day. It was massive, right? So it definitely opens up a lot of different things. And you know, data is king. It's been king forever. Data consumption continues to grow, so this just made a whole bunch of sense, right? You need to be able to provide that data a lot quicker. So that's what essentially 5G does for everyone.
Yeah, indeed. And who knows? 6G in a few years. Who knows what's next? What,
I actually saw they're working on that already. Yeah,
yes, the march continues onwards and upwards.
right.
How do you stay ahead of the curve? I mean, there's so much happening in mobile networking. Do you have anything on the radar you can share in terms of what's next, new innovations, new features, and keeping up with, industry changes?
I mean, from our side, so I'm a big believer of kind of staying in your lane. Not
Mm.
we're known for deviating, right? Like if somebody
Mhm.
needs something else, we'll definitely switch. But what we're doing in our space is we're trying to kind of reach for that perfection, right?
Mm.
As a service provider, right? Because there's so many, you know, we uh, to use our service, you need hardware, right? So
Mhm.
we're not a hardware manufacturer, but what we're
Mm.
doing is we're working with a lot of great hardware manufacturers. So
Mm.
when we work on specific projects and we see that they've met or exceeded not only our expectations but our clients' expectations. We generally have side conversations about, hey, we see a need for this in the market, but no one is addressing this from the hardware aspect, right? We don't want to become a hardware manufacturer, but we started working with a lot of great hardware manufacturers. So for us, staying ahead of the curve is just working with a lot of great other companies that are in the space that are essentially doing what we're doing just in their space. So I think a lot of great things will happen. Some that I can't talk about now, but what I would encourage everybody to do is check your page, our page, whatever it is. We will have some announcements December, January. That's going to be super exciting, and it talks some of that excitement is connecting people in areas where they believed they couldn't be connected.
Hmm.
So stay tuned.
All right. Well, I'm hearing hints about global geo coverage, and of course, you got CES coming up. Always a big
Right.
launch pad for new devices and consumer applications, as well as MWC next year in
Right.
Barcelona, which will be a big global event. And you will be one of many hot topics there. Um, what are you looking forward to the rest of the year? You got your head down helping clients, or you have any more trips up
Well,
there?
yeah, we actually we have a few trips lined up. It's end of year, right? Um, Most companies have IT freezes, so we're what we're doing is we're heading out to our partners and kind of reaffirming, what we both have planned for 24. So yeah, I'll do some traveling. It's going to be local, yeah, Michigan, California. But yeah, just in preparation for 24. I think that's what essentially everybody's doing, right?
And I think your closest airport is probably Newark, so my condolences for that. But what are you going to do?
You
Okay.
can't listen. You can't. I just flew back in. I was in JFK. They're doing construction there.
Okay.
Living in New York or anywhere in the tri-state area is always fun.
Okay. Well, good luck to us all over the
Thank you.
winter and great work. Congratulations on
This is it.
your mission. So exciting. I'll be watching with interest. And thanks everyone for watching. Reach out to Igor and team. Very few companies have the expertise that they have. So really interesting to keep in touch. All right, everyone. Thanks. Thanks, Igor.
Thank you, Ma.